Ladies and gentlemen, welcome wrestling fans worldwide to Knoxville and the Great Smoky Mountains for the Ron Fuller, Tennessee Studcast.
6 feet 9 inches tall, 265 pounds.
This historic podcast from one of the most respected and successful wrestlers and promoters will follow the footsteps of the largest and oldest wrestling family on the planet.
Listen to what I'm saying. That's right. Bring that camera in here a little bit closer.
Through 93 years and 4 generations.
The stud has arrived.
Old school or new fan, this unique broadcast will educate and captivate as Ron details decades of professional wrestling's growth with truly unforgettable stories.
I want those people out there at home to hear the stud.
Sit back and enjoy the ride with the Tennessee Stud.
The Tennessee Stud. You will learn that name. You will remember it.
And now,
the stud is here.
Hey everybody, welcome in. Here we go. It's David Summers, and here comes another Studcast with the Tennessee Stud, Ron Fuller. It's the story of wrestling in America as told by the Stud, whose family started the profession over 100 years ago. So now, let's step back into the ring. Let's step back into time as we get wall to wall and treetop tall with the Tennessee Stud, Ron Fuller. Hey, Ron, I'm going to ask you a question to start the show today. Give me an idea of who was the funniest person that you encountered along the way in the locker room, in the ring, in the general area of coming into work and you guys getting the show on. Who was the funniest guy?
That's a good question. Right off the top, man, I would say Dutch Mantell. Man, Dutch was just a funny dude, man. A great sense of humor, always messing around, always doing something. Don Carson was another guy that comes to mind.
I would have guessed Don Carson. Okay.
Yeah, Don was really, and it was so important, man, to have good guys in your dressing room to keep things rolling. So everybody has a good time. A lot of guys would change territories sometimes because the dressing rooms were so bad and the guys didn't like each other and didn't talk to each other. And so, I always tried to have at least one or two guys in a dressing room that would keep the ball rolling so that guys were happy all the time. And Adrian Street was another one of those guys that was pretty darn cool in the dressing room, too.
Oh, cool deal. And plus that improves morale. Happy, it's not like a job. So, I mean, you already did a great job on morale as far as how you paid the guys in your territory, which I think is one of the reasons they wanted to be in your territory so badly. So anyway, that's cool. And when you got the guys laughing, they're having fun. Hey, listen, you've had another very, very big week. Your new When Wrestling Was Wrestling weekend show on your YouTube Southeastern Rewind channel was really busy again. I love the newest one about the beginning of the family feud between Jimmy Golden and you and your brother Robert. I had no idea. It all began with your father and you defending the Southeastern tag belts intended by your cousin, Jimmy Golden.
Yeah, we were, we were wrestling against my dad and I in this particular match against one of the greatest Japanese teams in the world, Tora Tanaka and Mr. Fuji. And they were managed by a guy we just mentioned, Don Carson. So when Jimmy it was his first time to ever manage us, and he asked to do it. And I guess I should have thought right then that maybe, I don't know. But at that point, Jimmy had never done anything like this. So most of that story behind all of that was told basically with words in several videos. And that allowed everybody to see as well as hear it. And it was basically what happened, man, was basically the talk of wrestling around the country. That's my dad's nephew and Jimmy's cousin that he turned his back on. So, wow, that's a pretty big deal across the country.
Yeah, I can believe that. So when I heard how your father was hurt by Jimmy Golden, I can only imagine how you and your brother felt. Hard to believe this was only the third one in the When Wrestling Was Wrestling series. It's really taken off, and you do a totally new one every weekend. Episode 2 about Paul Orndorff, also tremendous. The way you are using the videos from your Tennessee Stud Streaming.com channel, I think that is truly amazing also.
Well, it's kind of been a blessing, man, to find so many of my TV shows from the 1980s. Not only the Southeastern ones, but Continental and USA TV shows as well. And I'm concentrating on Southeastern because it was my first company. But the time's going to come when I'm going to get finished with Southeastern. I'll be getting into Continental and on into USA TV shows. They're going to be displayed basically in the same way. So the new Studcast, now exclusively on the streaming channel, are absolutely loaded with great videos taken from every TV show back in the 1981 time frame.
Wow. And your Tennessee Stud Streaming.com channel just gets bigger and bigger every week. I have a subscription on there too. I can't believe it. It was only a few weeks ago we were doing the Studcast with no videos. So now almost every Studcast is half full of videos. And speaking of Studcast, how many minutes of this week's new Studcast is going to be videos, and how versus just you and I telling the story? And where are we riding today, Stud?
Well, we're about in this one, we're going to have about half of it's going to be videos again.
All right.
Pretty much similar to last week's. And we're going to be riding into the third week of February, 1981. And we were in that extremely important yearly February rating book, where we always try to put a championship match of some kind on TV every week during that month. You had 4 of those a year. Today's championship match, this Studcast is going to be for the Southeastern Tag Team belts of Dennis Condrey and Randy Rose. They're going to be wrestling Paul Orndorff and Norvell Austin for the big tag championship. And wow, great match this one is. Son of a gun, really a great match. So remember 2 weeks ago, Dennis Condrey lost an arm wrestling contest to Paul Orndorff.
Right.
So this time it could be the belts that he's going to maybe lose. So we'll be showing the video of the entire match that ends in both in a good and in a bad way. And this new Studcast also has videos of Bob and Brad matches. It's got Mr. Wrestling 2 in it. It's got Jimmy Golden matches. Got Ron Bass. It's got Masa Saito. It's got Ken Lucas. And it's got a very impressive newcomer. It's going to be his first television show, Stan Lane.
All right, so since you've given us the names of a lot of those going to be on the TV show today, how about telling us who was going to be on the card in the 4 major markets? Set it up for us.
Hey, I can do that. First match is going to be the last wrestler I just mentioned a few seconds ago, Stan Lane. And he was probably going to be in his only Southeastern opening match against one of my extended family members, Ricky Fields, who was the son of Lee Fields. Lee was one of the 3 brothers that I bought the Gulf Coast territory from in 1978. And so in the second match was going to be a very familiar name also to Southeastern fans, Ron Slinkard. And he was a national karate star who spent a lot of time with Southeastern in 1978, first year we were in business down there. And he was facing off against Oki Shikina. Norvell Austin was scheduled to face another newcomer named Tom Horn. In the first women's lib match, Joyce Grable and Judy Martin were challenged. They came actually and challenged Robert Gibson and Roy Lee Welch. And after what happened to Jerry Stubbs at the hands of Dennis Condrey and Randy Rose in last week's championship match on TV, where they blasted him, man, with a wooden board, sent him to the hospital for stitches, Stubbs had a change of heart. He was joining forces now with Bob and Brad Armstrong, who are going to be taking on Masa Saito and the tag team champions, Condrey and Rose. And there was a new Southeastern champion at this point, Ron Bass. He had won the belt the week before, in a tournament in Pensacola after the former champion, Tennessee Stud, gave up the belt and left Southeastern. So Ron Bass was going to be defending his belt against Paul Orndorff. Jimmy Golden was facing his third challenger in 3 weeks. Ken Lucas, who was the guy that fan favorite there on the Gulf Coast for many, many years, was returning to the area after a long absence to challenge Golden on behalf of the Tennessee Stud, Ron Fuller. So it was, my first experience with Ken Lucas. And then the next year or more, while he was there, I found him to be one of my favorite wrestlers to work with. He loved Pensacola, and actually he died there in 2014.
Wow.
And in fact, I named this Studcast in his honor. I'm going to call this one Ken Lucas Comes Home.
You know what? He was one of your favorites to work with. He was one of our favorites to watch in the ring because I thought that dude, he really looked good. He had the look, and he was exciting to watch, and it was cool just seeing him come down the aisle. That's a great card. A 6-man tag, a Southeastern Championship match, the return of Ken Lucas facing Jimmy Golden with 7 matches in all, and the first time ever, the women's lib match. All right, but before we go any further, I got to ask, what were the rules for a women's lib match, Ron? And how that fits in today is kind of interesting. Go ahead.
Well, man, actually, it was pretty simple. I mean, they were challenging the men, and it was basically the same rules as for any tag team match. So it was just women against men, and men could do whatever they wanted, and the women as well.
Okay, so, I mean, they were wrestling Robert Gibson and Roy Lee Welch with the same rules as any other tag match? Come on.
That's right. And in fact, we had one of those matches that's going to be on this TV show.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I can't wait to hear this one. All right, so can we get into that TV show right now, or how did this one start?
Well, obviously, this is not going to be just another TV show. I mean, it was rating period for one thing, and it was time for something special, basically. And boy, this one definitely had it, of course, right? And so Charlie Les announced the arrival of the new junior heavyweight sensation, Stan Lane, making his debut on this TV show. The championship match of the week for the Southeastern belts was also on this TV show. Dennis Condrey, Randy Rose against Paul Orndorff and Norvell Austin. And the first ever women's lib match with 2 women against 2 men was on it. So the studio crowd was already buzzing about the tag championship match. But when the women's lib match was mentioned, it was like a whole new ball game for them out there. They really, really got the buzzing then. So Jimmy Golden, he wasn't scheduled to wrestle on the show, but he had heard about the women's lib match before Charlie and Les opened the show. There was quite a bit of talk about it. Guys had never heard these, seen a match like this or heard anything like it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jimmy was feeling real cocky about his wins in his first couple of weeks here in the ring after, he had pulled the mask off the Tennessee Stud and basically put him out of business. And so he recognized the opportunity to get himself some cheap heat. So he went to the set with Les and Charlie. Beginning of the show, he was dressed to wrestle, and he demanded to be one of the men in the women's lib match. Because he said that right there, he said because he liked to slap women around.
Oh my God. Okay.
So Charlie and Les, they weren't so impressed with that. Actually, they got a little upset by that, and they sent him back to the dressing room. But not before he got the booze he wanted from the studio audience. I mean, that's all he wanted, was to get some more heat, and that's a good way to get it.
Oh, man, that's exactly what I was going to say. If you want to tick everybody off right from the top, well, all right, Jimmy Golden knows how to do that. All right, so, man, I can't believe that. Anyway, the crowd had the perfect response for that. All right, so who was in the first TV match?
Well, this was going to be the first video of this Studcast, and I want to apologize in advance for the quality of this particular. We've got a couple of TV shows that we're using in this one, and we're 44 years away from when we recorded these, and the video and the audio is not the greatest, but I hope you're going to agree, the fans out there, that man, we're blessed to have these, man. Wow, I watch them and I shake my head a little bit sometimes, but then I think, wow, this is so good. I mean, it's just amazing to be able to see these again. So this was going to be the first time any Southeastern fan had seen this next wrestler. And there was really something special about this guy from the very beginning.
Okay, so here we go. Let's get going. And our producer, Brian, is going to run that first video for us. Here it is.
Al Roberts. Your attention, please. Our first match, 1 fall, 10-minute time limit to referee Larry Brock. Larry Brock, your referee. Introducing in the corner to my left, at 224 pounds from Oklahoma, Roy Welch. Roy Welch. His opponent at 220 pounds from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, Stan Lane. Stan Lane. Stan Lane in action against Roy Welch. Our opening match on Southeastern Championship Wrestling. Championship month continues. The tag titles go on the line today, and great-looking studio crowd, capacity audience in the studio today to view our television matches during Championship month. Charlie, I'm anxious to get a look at Stan Lane. I have heard a lot about this gentleman, talked to several wrestlers. The man has got a fantastic, phenomenal run on the west coast of the United States. He's held many regional titles. He's formerly the Georgia Junior Heavyweight Champion, the Florida Junior Heavyweight Champion. I believe he shared the tag team title in the state of Florida. And this is our first look at him in Southeastern Wrestling land. He is a junior heavyweight, no two ways about that. And Stan Lane, I'm sure to be a man to be reckoned with when it comes to U.S. Junior Champion Brad Armstrong. Good takedown by Lane, but it's Welch not relinquishing the hold, takes his man on over in the ropes, and the break is called for.
Lane from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, originally. That's home. And I think, Charlie, what we're going to have to watch for from this young man is a reverse backbreaker. A maneuver where he takes his opponent into the ropes, catches him coming off, spins him into the air, brings him down across the knee. And Stan has used that hold to a great degree throughout his career. As I mentioned, I haven't seen him live. This is my first time. I've seen a few tapes of Stan Lane, but he has the credentials, the moves, and the experience and background to be one of the top men in this area. And then we keep mentioning that week after week, but as a new wrestler comes in, each man comes with a great portfolio of former titles, and each man adds to the already tough competition we have.
Good series of moves, reversal hammerlock by Welch, but it's now Stan Lane coming up with the arm bar on Roy Welch.
We're talking about tough seasoned campaigners. Roy Welch is exactly that. A man himself who has held titles in many regions and a tough veteran. Right now, Lane applying the pressure to the arm. And Stan Lane looks, from all appearances, to be well positioned, carrying no excess weight. Roy Welch right back to that arm bar on the reversal. Lane applying the pressure. Is a good shot of the physique of Stan Lane. Lane goes to the ropes. Welch pulls him back in. Again, Lane to the ropes. Stan is very confident of himself.
Good stupid slam by Roy Welch.
Nice arm drag takedown by Roy, right back on top in the driver's seat offensively now. And Lane has been giving a good account of himself. No man here thus far has found a real definite opening, Charlie.
And it's Lane. Look at that. Good move by Stan Lane.
Beautifully executed. He was able to get over the top of Roy, hooked him, and put him down a little headbutt into the small of the back, drives Welch forward, stuns him momentarily. And Stan Lane moving in to take command. This young gentleman is methodical. He doesn't rush it. He is polished and well poised for a man of his age.
Good suplex. 2 counts on Roy Welch.
Lane moving right back in. That reverse chin lock now, using the knee between the shoulder blades for added leverage. Stan Lane on the move, trying to put Roy Welch away. You know, we've had an influx in the southeastern area over the past year and a half. Charlie is the finest junior heavyweight wrestler in the United States. And I think it's great that Stan Lane has joined that fast-paced company, and he should add measurably to the junior heavyweight action. Roy right now has Lane on the run. Racing across the run, and Lane right back at him. Throws that short little knee into the midsection. Doubles Roy up. Stan Lane now reversing the tables on him. Roy hooks his man, takes him through the canvas. Didn't get those shoulders working. And there's Lane with the help of the trunk, a win over Roy Wells.
Well, it did appear that the tights were pulled in that particular incident. Nevertheless, newcomer Stan Lane.
All right, you know what, Stud? I do remember him. He was a really good wrestler, and maybe that was why he was so full of himself. All right, so who was in the second segment of the show?
Well, this was with Jimmy Golden, and the studio fans had not forgotten his earlier remarks about women, and so they booed him when he said it, and they booed him when he came out again, just seeing him. So when he came to the set, he could hardly wait to show everybody what he had done to Mr. Wrestling #2 the week before, because that was the second guy that came in to see if he could take up for Ron Fuller and the Tennessee Stud. So that's what we have coming next, my man. Another video.
All right, good deal. Brian is going to set it up and roll that video right now. Here it is.
Certainly, we've seen a lot of action today on Southeastern Wrestling, and there's more coming up, because right now we would like to take you into the arenas of Southeastern Championship Wrestling for a match in which Golden takes on a living legend, Mr. Wrestling #2. If we could roll that tape now.
And he is gone bye-bye. There is no more legend wrestling Mr. 2. He went down in defeat in Dothan, Alabama by the hands of Jimmy Golden. And understand that the Tennessee Stud has put up his title. He is ready to go, and he's not coming back to this area because he's a coward. He's afraid of Jimmy Golden.
Wrestling 2 with side headlock. Wrestling 2 seems to have things well under control at this point of the match.
Charlie, they're coming from all four corners of the world, brother, to face the superstar Jimmy Golden. Wrestling #2, Robert Fuller, Tony Atlas, Ron Slinkers, and there's supposed to be a surprise opponent by the name of Ken Lucas. Lucas, you ain't no surprise geek. You're mud, boy. You ain't nothing but mud. I'm going to be the legend. One legend went down in defeat. Last week, another legend's going to go down in defeat. This week, I'm going to be the legend of this area.
You're hearing those of Jimmy Golden, and here we see Jimmy taking on Wrestling 2.
Did you see that man begging for mercy out there, Charlie Platt? Big, tough wrestler. Wrestling
#2 count on Wrestling, by Wrestling 2 on Jimmy Golden.
No 3 count, though, baby. He never will get a 3 count on Jimmy Golden. He was begging for mercy. He was begging me, please, not to hit him anymore. Begging me, please don't pull my mask off and show my ugly face to everybody. I just almost certainly took it off of him anyway. Right there you see Mr. Wrestler #2 was using illegal fists, hitting me in the throat, in the eyes, kicking me in the face. But he's going to get a little taste of his own medicine, baby. He's going to get a little taste of his own medicine. He's going to get beat real good. You call that legal wrestling, yeah? You see him punch me in the gut?
There's that famous high knee lift. They go into the canvas, you go outside of the
famous
ring.
my foot.
And I think right here is where you'll
look
see,
at this.
Yes.
Outside the ring, man, he's supposed to, the referee's supposed to be counting.
What are you doing in your knee pad? There you have some object coming out of the knee pad.
There wasn't nothing in my knee pad. Now he's trying to suplex me back into the ring.
You hit him.
I hit him with a good right cross, brother.
Some object.
And down he went. He's out. He don't see nothing now but stars, brother. He's looking at stars right now. He reminds me of that Tennessee Stud with that mask on. 1, 2, and 3. There's your living legend, Wrestling 2. There's supposed to be another one by the name of Ken Lucas that's supposed to be a legend. I'm going to be your legend, ladies and gentlemen.
Ain't nobody going to do it but Jimmy Golden. I'm going to be your legend. The superstars have all gone. They all... Ken Lucas has come out here. Let's get out of this.
Okay, wow, talk about slapping somebody. That was great. All right, do you think Ken Lucas heard him say what he did about women in the opening of the TV show? I mean, Ken Lucas popped him so good. That was incredible. All right, so what's coming up next?
Yeah, I love that too. I mean, and I think that's the first time that fans had seen Ken since he came back. He just came out of the dressing room. People didn't know he was even there. And wow, did he make an impression right off. So next up was an interview about an upcoming match between Lucas and Jimmy Golden. And this showed the difference between these two guys, basically. Golden was still upset a little bit about what had happened when Lucas came on the scene. And Lucas, as usual, man, he was just dead serious.
Okay, so our producer, Brian, is going to set it up and play that video, and here it is.
Last reminder, no Southeastern Wrestling here on Channel 42 next Saturday. Southeastern Wrestling returns Saturday, February the 21st at 2 p.m. And a super lineup Monday night in Boutwell Auditorium, women against the men for the very first time in this area, plus the return of Ken Lucas as he goes against Jimmy Golden in a special challenge match. Before I talk to Kenny, let's hear from Jimmy Golden.
Ken Lucas, let me tell you something, boy. The day that you come out here and slap me in the face and get by with it is going to be the day. I'm going to tell you that. Who do you think you are, Mr. High and Mighty? You supposed to be this and you supposed to be that, and you whipped everybody down here for years. Well, let me tell you something now, baby. You against the real thing now, brother, and we going to get it on right in the middle of that little wrestling ring, and I'm going to clean house with your hind end, boy. Let me tell you something. I have beat the superstar, Ron Fuller, his punk brother, Robert Fuller, Mr. Tony Atlas, USA, Mr. Wrestling number 2. I've cleaned house with all of them, baby, and you going to be next, son. You ain't slapping me in the face and getting by with it. Get ready to get your hind end kicked good.
Well, Kenny, what do you think about that?
Well, you know, Les, in this profession, a lot of things can happen, you know, and he put a very good friend of mine out of commission, Mr. Ron Full, the Tennessee Stud. And I used to have a lot of respect for Mr. Golden, but anymore from the way I see he acts and the way I see he does. And he said that I did slap him. I did slap him. And I slapped him real good, and I got his attention real good, and that's just what I wanted to do. Because one thing for sure, Jimmy, let me tell you something. You get nothing for free in this country today. You have to work for everything you get. And let me say one thing, Jimmy. I'm coming to Birmingham with one thing in my mind, and that's to hurt you any way I can. And if I've got to do it that way, Jim, I'm sorry, but that's the way it goes, because I'm going to beat you, and I'm going to beat you from 1 inch of your life.
Ken Lucas returns to Birmingham to take on Jimmy Golden. It's the women against the men, Joyce Grable and Judy Martin, against Robert Gibson and Roy Welch, plus a great array of wrestling stars. Monday night, Birmingham's Boutwell Auditorium, bell time, 8 p.m. You'll want to be there.
Okay, Ron, I can't believe he was still mad about that slap. Jimmy Golden was becoming a tremendous heel. I think these Studcasts with videos like this are so much better than before. All right, so let's go to the personality profile. Who was on that?
First, I got to say, Dave, I can believe Jimmy was probably mad about that slap for a week.
No
I
doubt.
don't think he got over that probably for a while. So in the profile, it was going to be Bob and Brad Armstrong. They were going to be recording this profile from the regular set, and they both had clips from their recent single matches that they'd been having. Brad was up against Chick Donovan, so we're going to show part of that match. And we're going to show some of Bob against the Southeastern champion, Ron Bass. And obviously, as in with a lot of these matches with Bob lately, there's going to be some interference in this one as usual.
All right, so Brian has got that one ready to roll.
Last reminder, no Southeastern Wrestling here on Channel 42 next Saturday. Southeastern Wrestling returns Saturday, February the 21st at 2 p.m. And a super lineup Monday night in Boutwell Auditorium, women against the men for the very first time in this area, plus the return of Ken Lucas as he goes against Jimmy Golden in a special challenge match. Before I talk to Kenny, let's hear from Jimmy Golden.
Ken Lucas, let me tell you something, boy. The day that you come out here and slap me in the face and get by with it is going to be the day. I'm going to tell you that.
Who do you think you are, Mr. High and Mighty? You supposed to be this, and you supposed to be that, and you whipped everybody down here for years. Well, let me tell you something now, baby. You against the real thing now, brother, and we gonna get it on right in the middle of that little wrestling ring, and I'm gonna clean house with your hind end, boy. Let me tell you something. I have beat the superstar, Ron Fuller, his punk brother, Robert Fuller, Mr. Tony Atlas, USA, Mr. Wrestling #2. I've cleaned house with all of them, baby, and you gonna be next, son. You ain't slapping me in the face and getting by with it. Get ready to get your hind end kicked good.
Well, Kenny, what do you think about that?
Well, you know, Les, in this profession, a lot of things can happen, you know, and he put a very good friend of mine out of commission, Mr. Ron Full of Tennessee Stud. And I used to have a lot of respect for Mr. Golden, but anymore from the way I see he acts and the way I see he does. And he said that I did slap him. I did slap him. When I slapped him real good, and I got his attention real good, and that's just what I wanted to do. Because one thing for sure, Jimmy, let me tell you something. You get nothing for free in this country today. You have to work for everything you get. And let me say one thing, Jimmy. I'm coming to Birmingham with one thing in my mind, and that's to hurt you any way I can. And if I've got to do it that way, Jim, I'm sorry, but that's the way it goes, because I'm going to beat you, and I'm going to beat you from 1 inch of your life.
Ken Lucas returns to Birmingham to take on Jimmy Golden. It's the women against the men, Joyce Grable and Judy Martin, against Robert Gibson and Roy Welsh, plus a great array of wrestling stars. Monday night, Birmingham's Boutwell Auditorium, bell time, 8 p.m. You'll want to be there.
I'll tell you what, Brad was still United States Junior Heavyweight Champion, and both of them were teaming up with a very angry Jerry Stubbs to take on the terrible trio of Dennis Condrey, Randy Rose, and Masa Saito the upcoming week. Are we finally getting into the women's Lib TV match and who is in it?
Yeah, we're about there, Dave. And it was Joyce Grable, Judy Martin, and they were going to be against Mike Jackson and Ricky Fields. And these were two wrestlers that weren't significantly heavier than the ladies were. You know, they were both junior heavyweights, so you know, this made some sense. So the match was fantastic. I mean, guys in the dressing room were going crazy, like, wow, these women, they were good wrestlers, and boy, they took a lot of punishment, and they actually won the match, and they got a pin on Mike Jackson. And boy, what an explosion of cheers came from the studio crowd.
Oh, no doubt. I can imagine that. All right. I'm sorry to say that I never got to see one of those type matches. All right. So who was in the last TV match of that week?
Well, it's time for the championship match of the week for the Southeastern Tag Belts. Dennis Condrey and Randy Rose going to be wrestling against Paul Orndorff, Norvell Austin, who they had several matches with at this point. But this one was going to be on television for the championship. And we even had a little special split-screen introduction to the wrestlers in the match. Something that nobody else in wrestling did back in those days. I thought it was a pretty cool little deal. And so we're gonna give our fans 3 weeks into the month of February an opportunity to see a tremendous tag team match.
Okay, so Brian is going to play for us the third championship match of February 1981 and the last match of this Studcast. Here we go.
On championship week this week, the Southeastern Tag Team titles are on the line. With me, the challengers, Norvell Austin and Paul Orndorff. It's a big one for you today, Paul.
That's right. You know, it's everything that Norvell and myself has worked for. We've been together now for over 6 weeks. We went out there, and I tell you, it boils down to this. We got to dig and scratch for it's a 15-minute time limit. If we don't defeat them here on TV, then we might as well just pack the old truck up and head on out, baby, because this is what it's all about today. Norvell?
Exactly right, Paul. All the mobs is up right here on TV, so you know we got to get down, do some heavy getting down. Condon Rose, we're ready for you.
Now here's Charlie Black with the champions.
Very important title defense for you,
Get
gentlemen.
the truck packed up now, boys, because I'm going to tell you what, you can't beat us in Dothan, you can't beat us in the Farm Center, you can't beat us in Birmingham, you can't beat us in Pensacola, and there ain't no way you can beat us here on TV. Norvell Austin, you know I usually wear a red rose since this is Valentine's Day. I got a special rose for you today, boy. You don't know what it means. You better ask your friends before you take this match.
Let's go to the ring for the introduction.
Your attention, please. This is a Southeastern Tag Team Championship match. One fall, 15-minute time limit. Introducing in the corner to my left, the challengers. At a combined weight of 460 pounds, Paul Orndorff and Norvell Austin. In the corner to my right, the current Southeastern Tag Team champions. At a combined weight of 472 pounds, Randy Rose and Dennis Condrey. Rose and Condrey.
About the crowd favorites in this match, Norvell Austin and former North American heavyweight champion Paul Orndorff. Championship match continues with the Southeastern Tag Team title on the line, Charlie. We might emphasize, as we have in the past 2 weeks, that with a 1 minute, or excuse me, a one fall, 15-minute time limit confronting them, the challengers will have to press, get their advantage early, and take command. It will be Randy Rose out for the champions. Paul Orndorff out for the challengers. Collar and elbow, jockeying now for position. Rose comes up with a headlock. Orndorff right away on the reversal. Over the top for Randy Rose. With a tackle. Still on the move. Orndorff over the top. And back once again. Arm drag on Condrey as he comes in the ring. And again. Paul Orndorff, he is taking the match to the champions. And that's what he'll have to do to win those Southeastern Tag titles. Pressing for advantage, as we said, with 15 minutes, staring him in the face. It's not a long, long time to beat a champion. The champion can lay back, make you open up, make you come to him, and that's exactly what Paul and Norvell are going to have to do. Collar and elbow. It's the hammerlock grabbed by Randy Rose. Orndorff, a lot of power in those arms, maneuvering his way around. Look at that reversal now, Charlie, and over the top. Tag is made with a junkyard dog. Norvell Austin in. Applying that pressure to the left arm. And in this situation, tags are important. It's important to keep the fresh man in. With 15 minutes, you can't afford to move your weak man in and have him worked over. Norvell with a headbutt. And again, the challengers are pressing. They took it from the opening bell. Charlie, they have moved right on in there in command. Byron Carey, nice one by Condrey. Reversal, Austin right out and on his feet, ready to roll. Back into grip. Over on the ropes, but it's Condrey with the takedown. Nice single leg by Dennis. Norvell with a reversal out of the headlock to the hammerlock, dropping that knee in at the joint. There's the tag, and again, the challengers realize they've got to keep the fresh man in, they've got to keep pressing, and they have done exactly that. Behind your point, wear it down. That's what Orndorff and Austin are doing with the left arm of Dennis Condrey, one half the tag champion, title match, championship month here on Southeastern Wrestling. Good move by Condrey. You got to hand it to these Southeastern Tag champions. They are a dynamic combination. I said it all along, Charlie. Rose and Condrey peck away at you. They'll chip away at your armor until they make the whole thing to battle through and win it. Down for the pin. 2 count on Paul Orndorff. He powers out. Look at Orndorff. Tag is made with Austin. The champions now opening up. They were laying back. Austin and Orndorff took the offense. Condrey neutralized Paul with that beautiful clothesline, and now Condrey and Rose trying to pull back, gain their momentum, and slow down and neutralize Austin and Orndorff. Right thrown right into the throat of Norvell Austin at again. Champions opening up on the challengers. Condrey in now for his knee. Snapmare takedown. Drops that knee. And for the pin. And of course, we might mention as we watch the Southeastern title match, tag team title match in championship month, that next week the title remaining will be the Southeastern Singles Championship to be defended here on television. Catches his man coming off of the rope. Goes off that second rope onto the dog. But the junkyard dog bails out. Pain stuff. Norvell Austin. Rose in command with that reverse chin lock. And the tag. The champion champions realize what we're talking about. The fresh man in, short time limit, and everybody's got to be on their toes.
Power slam by Condrey. 2 count on the junkyard dog, but he powers out.
Condrey taunting Orndorff now. He's back to Austin. Austin doubles his man up with a shot, and again. And there's the tag. Rose will move in fresh. Norvell being blocked. A nice trap by Dennis. Took that leg beautifully, Charlie, and maintained position long enough to let Randy come in and take over.
Rose takes his man up high. Side suplex for the count. 2. And Norvell Austin powers out barely on the 2 count. Austin needs desperately to make that tag with his partner Orndorff, but there we see the teamwork of the tag champions preventing that tag from being made.
And Norvell, right now, dazed in a stunned condition, needs to find that corner. And Paul Orndorff yelling, instructions, calling for his partner, tag me. Norvell has lost a bit of his sense of direction now. He's been stunned, and there's a 2 count, but Austin's still in this ball game.
He's still fighting for the tag. Rose takes his man in. Another power slam. This good? No. Austin powers out again. Norvell Austin taking a lot of punishment now, Les.
Exactly right, Charlie. He needs to make that tag as he tries to look. And it is Austin reversing the procedure on Condrey. Now Norvell, just a matter of feet to make that tag. No, Condrey staring at the eyes. He's tagging the first man. Randy Rose moves in. Let's see, got it.
He got the tag. Orndorff's in. Orndorff going to work on Rose. Now on Condrey. Paul Orndorff putting their heads together. Southeastern tag title on the line, on television, for the championship match. Crashing down across the head of Randy Rose.
Norvell still in that corner, dazed and stunned, but Orndorff taking care of business all by himself. At this point, Rose battles in there with a shot to Orndorff, slows him down. Condrey moves to Austin. Condrey and Orndorff, the legal man in that ring. Dennis Condrey lines up to go for the knee and catches Randy Rose in the midsection. A big mistake on the part of the champions. Let's see. And yes, Orndorff pulls it out of the fire, and Orndorff and Austin, your new Southeastern Tag Team champions. A costly mistake by Rose and Condrey. Put the belts around the waist of Paul and Norvell. What an upset. The Southeastern Tag Team titles are now going to Paul Orndorff and Norvell Austin. Great month there, championship month on Southeastern Wrestling. And there's a situation, a costly mistake. Randy Rose, costly mistake. Wait a minute. Rose and Condrey attacking from behind, drive Orndorff out of the ring. Now they've got Norvell Austin. Randy Rose after a chair. What's going on here? Let's take a look. Setting Norvell up for the pile driver onto the chair, Charlie. That's what they're setting up, and they've got it. The champions, the winners of the match are Orndorff and Austin, but Condrey and Rose seeking revenge, getting it here. Norvell brought down hard at chair. He could be seriously injured, and now they're doubling up on Paul Orndorff. Gary Stubbs hits the ring, Charlie. Stubbs in there, bailing away at Rose. Stubbs pounding away at Randy Rose, and Condrey heads to the floor. Orndorff with that chair going after Randy Rose. Let's try and get this in perspective. A lot of confusion here, but in fact, the winners and new champions are Paul Orndorff and Norvell Austin, defeating the team of Randy Rose and Dennis Condrey. Condrey and Rose with a costly mistake. As Condrey came after Orndorff for the knee, he sidestepped, he hit Rose, but in the aftermath, Norvell Austin pile drives onto a steel chair at center ring. As you're looking at him now, may be seriously injured, Charlie.
Austin is hurt. We'll bring you up to date later on in the program, hopefully, and we'll be back with our personality profile.
Okay, what a fantastic match that was. You had new champions, but Condrey and Rose couldn't stand to lose, and when they pile-drived Norvell head first on the steel chair, I thought they broke his neck. What a tremendous TV show that was. All right, so what happened in the arenas the next week? So take us back in time, Stud.
Okay, Stan Lane, he got a win over Ricky Fields in the first match. Ron Slinker beat Oki Shikina. And then Ron Slinker had to go back and wrestle in the next match because that was supposed to be Norvell Austin's match. But Norvell, after you mentioned, got pile-drived on that steel chair. I mean, he was out. He was out for a couple of 3 weeks there. And, wow, it looked like to me it broke his neck, too. It's amazing he got over it as fast as he did. But he really got hurt in that last. So, Slinker won his match over a guy named Tom Horn. Then the ladies were not quite as successful as they had been on TV in these house shows because they weren't wrestling against Mike Jackson and another a smaller opponent. They were wrestling against Robert Gibson and Roy Lee Welch. So it was a little bit of a different thing this time, and actually the men came out as the winners. And then in a 6-man tag match with Bob, Brad, and Jerry Stubbs against Saito, Condrey, and Rose, that match was stopped. Both teams got disqualified, as a matter of fact. Stubbs was extremely upset about what had happened to him. Ron Bass did pretty much the same thing. In the next match, he got himself disqualified against Paul Orndorff. But that was because he wanted to save his championship title. Mm-hmm. Orndorff was young and grinding, man. And I mean, he was something at a very young age. You knew he was headed for big time. Jimmy Golden and Ken Lucas went at it, man, like two dogs in a fight, man. And they had to be pulled apart. Several of the wrestlers, about 4 or 5 wrestlers, went down to the ring. They couldn't get it stopped, and they just finally had to pull them apart. And they were going to be coming back the next week against each other again, but it was going to be in a non-sanctioned NWA lights out match. No disqualification, and anything goes.
Wow. Okay. All right. So how about the attendances for this card? Set us up on that.
Well, Birmingham had 5,400 people. Mobile had 5,600. Bright at capacities at both of those. Montgomery had 4,000. And Dothan had 4,900, almost 5,000. 19,900 fans in 4 nights.
Wow. I mean, a really respectable 20,000 fans in 4 nights for a small territory that was probably as many as most territories of any size. All right, so where are we going to be riding next week, Stud?
Well, we're going to need a bigger building, Dave, in every market next week because we got the biggest wrestler on the planet coming in for the entire week. Andre the Giant's going to be coming to the Gulf Coast for the first time in almost 2 years. He had only wrestled in Southeastern Gulf Coast twice, in 1978. Twice he wrestled there in 1979, and he hadn't been back since 1979. So Vince McMahon Sr. had pulled him off the road, not allowing him to wrestle in other territories. Vince Sr. had been very, very good about letting Andre come and wrestle for other territories. But for some reason, Vince Sr. got the idea that he didn't want him to wrestle in the other territories anymore, and he kept him mainly in his WWF territory for quite a while there. And I'd only talked to Andre a couple of times during all this, and he always said that he enjoyed working our territory, mm-hmm. More than just about anywhere he went.
Yeah.
Everybody was having good attitudes, real lively dressing rooms, and Andre was the type of guy that really, really wanted to keep an upbeat attitude. So he called me as soon as Vince told him that he was going to be letting him go back on the road again, and he asked me. He said, "Ron, can I come to stay with you?" And he says, And, and I'd only had him, the most he'd ever stayed was 2 nights in a row for me because I didn't have any big towns other than Knoxville when he were in the north.
Yeah.
But he said he wanted to stay an entire week. So, and he told me, he said, Ron, if you ask Vince, he goes, he said, I think, he's liable, he'll let me stay that long, and if you ask him, he said, I think he's going to say yes, basically.
You had an amazing relationship. We've heard about this over the years on these podcasts. Your relationship with Andre the Giant was kind of a really one of a kind. He liked how you treated him, respected him. He enjoyed himself when he came to your market. I think that's so cool. How long had you known him at that time?
Well, I first met Andre in 1971, and it had been about 10 years, basically, since the first time I saw him. And first time I saw him, it was in Tampa, Florida. It was a battle royal, and he couldn't hardly even speak any English. He had an interpreter, a guy named Frank Valois, that interpreted your conversations with him. That's the only way you could basically talk to him during that time frame.
Yeah.
But I was lucky, man. I knew Vince pretty well, Vince Sr., and I had to wrestle for him in Madison Square Garden, 1973. He was good friends, obviously, with my father and my grandfather, Roy. And I saw him every year at the National Wrestling Alliance meetings in Las Vegas, and we'd have conversations every year. And although he wasn't a member, Vince was such a different person than his son, Vince Jr., that he was always welcome at the National Wrestling Alliance meetings in Las Vegas. Vince Jr. never even tried to come, I don't believe.
I was wondering about that. Okay. Wow.
So I called Vince in the fall of 1980. Andre and I had talked, and I asked if I could have Andre for a week. Andre said he wanted me to ask for a week. So, I asked him, hey, could I have Andre? And, and he says, oh, yeah, you can have him for a couple of days. I said, well, how about a week? So, and I was a little hesitant to ask the question even. And so, he said, well, he didn't really tell me right then, yeah, you can have him for a week. He actually called me back about a week later and said, yeah, I talked to Andre about it, and yeah, you can keep him for a week. So I put a little thought into when I wanted him, because I wanted Andre to have a great time. And so I waited. I thought, now this was in probably November. And so I thought about how the weather gets nice toward the end of February when you're down there in Pensacola and you're on the beach. And, so I've called Vince back and I said, I'd like to have him in February, late February. Right. So that's when he says, okay. And, that was, and I knew he was not going to give him to me within 2 or 3 weeks or a month, that he was going to be booked. So I backed off about 4 months and I got a whole week. So I intentionally chose that time of year because basically it was warm enough for Andre to go out on the beach every day.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely beautiful in that part of the country, man, when the azaleas were blooming and the dogwood trees. And it was like, wow, So he came into Birmingham on the Monday. He's going to be booked for the entire week. So we'll be talking about that in the next Studcast, about all these towns that Andre went to and what kind of week he had. He actually came into Birmingham on a Monday, and he wasn't going to be leaving until the following Monday after his match in Pensacola the night before. So in that week, man, I set him up with a beautiful hotel right on Pensacola Beach. It was basically within walking distance of my house. I lived kind of across the street on Pensacola Bay from that hotel. So I was going to do a lot more talking about Andre, in the next Studcast. But I will say, business-wise, I booked as soon as I found out that I could get these dates. I called immediately. I got the big building in Mobile, the main arena.
Yeah.
I talked about, I said, here's the date. here's the show. I want to have as many seats, maximum seats, because of, and we were prepared, man. When I told Rob and Bob and Roy about it, we were prepared for a phenomenal week. We had Andre for a whole week, and we were expecting big time business.
Wow. Okay. You said he came in to Birmingham on a Monday. He flew in, obviously, right?
Right. He flew in from wherever he had been. I didn't even ask him what territory he came out of, but he flew in on to Birmingham. Yes.
All right. He was accustomed to being picked up in a nice van, so he could get in the back seat and he could stretch out. So, I mean.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, he knew what was going to happen. And it wasn't just my van. The cool thing about it was Rob had a van, Jimmy had a van, Ken Lucas had a van. So, I took him a couple of nights. Ken took him a couple of nights. Rob took him. Jimmy took him. He got to ride big time. And we were a van full of territory full of vans. I guess that's what we were the big van territory for him, I'm sure.
Do you remember, did you specifically pick him up in Birmingham?
Yes, I sure did. I went to the airport. In fact, I had a meeting, and that'll be one of my stories. I'll tell this story next week, but I went to the meeting, went to pick him up at the airport. I had a meeting with
you left him in people. Yeah, and you left him in the van.
I left him in the van. And he wanted to put a tape that I had on in the van, and it's a great story. We'll get to that next week.
My God!
We're about to run out of time this one.
At the end of the meeting, you come out, and a pretty good crowd has amassed.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
It looked like the crowd in the building almost.
Right there in downtown Birmingham. I'll hold off on that one because that's a good story. That's a funny story, and that just it says so much about Andre and who he was and how he was just magnetic with that gigantic frame and personality. And you turn around, and all of a sudden he's surrounded by people. All right, so that's a great story that we can't wait to hear. I can already tell it's going to be a lot of fun in the next Studcast. All right, so who wouldn't like to know more about Andre the Giant? By the way, you can find Andre the Giant. He's on one of the Super Studcast, and you can find that at tnstud.com. As a matter of fact, is that the very first one of the Super
Stud? The very first one. The very first Super Studcast was Andre the Giant. And it's got almost 3 hours of stories. So
it's
loaded.
It's one of the best, and you can find it at tnstud.com for only $2.99. And before we finish today, I want to remind everybody about your TennesseeStudStreaming.com channel. It's only $4.99 a month, and you can save 15% with a year for only $49.99. That's the way I did it. Paid it one time. Don't have to worry about it again. This is where all the new Studcasts are, since we now have videos, of course, in them. All right. Any final comments on the big show today, Stud?
Yeah. Thanks always to everybody listening out there today. Please tell your friends and neighbors about us. Take care of yourselves and others, and may God bless us all.
For Ron Fuller in the Great Smoky Mountains, I'm David Summers saying thank you for listening. Find me on Facebook at facebook.com/dsummers955. And you can also hit me up anytime at davidsummersproductions@gmail.com. This Studcast is a David Summers production for Tennessee Stud, LLC.
Thanks for joining us today for this historic Studcast. The true story continues next week. So full Nelson your friends and point them in our direction for another ride with the Tennessee Stud.
1, 2, 3.
This is David Summers saying so long from the Great Smoky Mountains.